Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Filmcast review of Companion. Now, I do want to reissue the warning that I just issued on the podcast, which is that we are going to be discussing the premise for Companion, which many people have successfully avoided. So if you don't want to know the premise, then tune out and come back after you've seen the movie. We will also have a separate spoiler section where we talk about the ending of the movie. But we're going to talk about the premise and many of those details. So FYI, just giving you that warning right now. All right, here is the plot summary of Companion, according to the internet. A weekend getaway turns bloody and violent when a subservient android that's built for human companionship goes haywire, end quote. Devindra Hardawar, what did you think of Companion?
Yeah, I loved it. I think it's it is a pretty straightforward film about what it's trying to do, right? This is not an episode of Black Mirror that's questioning, AI personhood or something, but it is doing some really interesting things in terms of, how something like that would react to the knowledge that it's an AI robot. What I really want to highlight, though, is I think Sophie Thatcher is fantastic. Jack Quaid, doing his thing. I feel like he has played this exact role of boyfriend you can't trust a few times now, so that's kind of funny. But shout out to Mr. Rupert Friend. Rupert Friend as Sergey, the man with the mullet. I love Rupert Friend, guys. So the surprise for me in this movie was not the premise, because I saw the trailers. It's fine going to that and, kind of getting the movie kind of treats it as a bit of a surprise. But when I go into a movie and Rupert Friend appears, that's my treat. Rupert Friend in Death of Stalin, Rupert Friend in what was it? He's been in a few of the Wes Anderson things lately too. So love him. He kind of goes full
who could forget him in Hitman Agent 47?
Hitman Agent 47, guys.
He's great in Homeland. He's great in Homeland.
He was great in Homeland, but Homeland he was very serious. He had to be the Jack Bauer type in Homeland. He was in one of the Star Wars shows that he was terrible in. Was that one? Forget which one that was. He was a terrible villain in Star Wars because they did him dirty with that makeup. But anyway, he is fantastic. He's not in this movie enough, but the overall, the actual movie,
Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was an Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
Kenobi.
He was an Obi-Wan. God, they really did that boy dirty in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, this movie, it's a pretty straightforward, it's a group of friends hanging out and shit goes wrong. We've seen several of those movies lately too. And I do like that this has become just kind of a bit of a subgenre that I really enjoy. And in this one, we kind of get the friends, we get the relationship between the friends. And when shit hits the fan, it happens pretty quickly. I think it's all pretty entertaining. So yeah, solid film for me.
Jeff Kanata, your thoughts on Companion?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on Companion are best summed up in the form of a limerick. I don't want to cause film cast strife.
I don't believe you.
But the moment I saw the red knife, I was extremely glad that for this one I had committed to unsullied life. For me, this is the poster child to protect yourself from trailers. The experience I had watching this movie was so much fun. This movie making a play already for my top 10 of 2025. I loved every second of this movie. I had such a blast with it. It's smart. It's interesting. It's, I think, really plausible in a lot of ways. And I think it kind of sits next to Her as a movie that I'm going to be thinking about as our world progresses into the reality that this movie is talking about.
I was thinking Ex Machina, very similar vibes there, but yeah, different tone.
I prefer this movie to Ex Machina, personally. I like Ex
Machina.
Oh, Jeff.
I prefer this movie to Ex Machina.
Yeah.
I really do. The experience that I had of watching this movie, literally not knowing anything about it. I didn't know who was in it. I didn't know what the premise was. I didn't know anything. And I know I proselytize about that a lot, but this is one of those unique experiences that I do this for, because I had this moment, several moments, but the first one I just absolutely love is that we see them at the beginning of this movie. Well, not at the very beginning, but beginning-ish, in a car. And Jack Quaid is behind the driver's wheel, and he kind of is turning and not really paying attention. And I was like, this is a self-driving car. Are we in the future? Are we in the future in this movie? What a cool way to sort of subtly hint at that, is how uninterested in driving Jack Quaid is, even though he's in the driver's seat. Such a cool way to just sort of hint that we're in the future. And then there are things that start happening where and we'll get into them in spoilers if you'd like, or maybe not. But I loved how, like, why are people behaving like that? The way they're treating her is really disrespectful.
A little weird, yeah.
Odd. And like, what does that line mean? That's a real non sequitur. That's a strange thing. And then when it all, with that first moment, which we literally played in the trailer, that first moment of go to sleep, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I live for that. I live for that feeling in the cinema of a rug pull, a swerve, a place that I didn't anticipate, that now I'm in it. Now I'm in the story. And I think this movie is really, it's a fun kind of, thriller, adventure tale, where we're rooting for people that you don't even think we would necessarily be rooting for. But it is also, I think, a real commentary on where we are as a culture right now. Toxic masculinity, this sort of entitlement, disconnection between people, and where that is leading, this sort of digital world we live in, where every desire is available on demand all the time, and you don't have to get into the messiness of actually interacting with another human being in order to have your needs met on a certain level. But the sort of emptiness of that, and the hole that can't quite fill, all of that stuff is in the purview of this movie, is squarely in the crosshairs of this movie. And I think it speaks to our time in a way that I love art when it does that. It does it in a smart way. It does it in an exciting way. I have a few minor gripes about this movie, but overall, this is such a home run. And it really feels like this year's Bodies for me, or, like you said, Devindra, this has become a subgenre. And I feel like there's so many great hits in this subgenre. I really am digging it. Heretic is another example. Like, movies that, quote unquote horror movies. I would classify this more as a thriller than a horror movie per se, but movies that with this edge to them that really speak to our times and exaggerate certain things, fantasize certain things, but do so in a way that gets to a certain truth that I find very resonant and very prescient and very, a real warning, a real warning. And I love that about this movie. I think Companion is fantastic.
I love this movie as well. I had a blast with it. Had the same experience as Jeff. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't watch any of the trailers, and had a great time in the theater. I think what I really appreciate about this movie is the way it lays out a set of rules and then generally follows those rules to unravel the events that occur. And it's very satisfying when you feel like the movie is following its own rules. When you feel like, oh, these rules that the movie has set up, now it's saying, oh, these are the constraints that we're existing in, and the movie butts up against those, and it's like, oh wow, yes, the movie is like respecting what it's trying, like its audience, and in doing so is able to feel really smart and clever. Of course, there are some exceptions where it does get kind of silly and a little bit unbelievable, but in general, I really loved the way this movie unraveled its mysteries. It revealed information to the audience. It developed its characters. I really love the two leads. I thought Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher both did phenomenally in this film. And as you guys have indicated, people now have AI boyfriends and girlfriends. This is a thing that is happening in the world right now. And so to have a movie that comments on that is kind of, hey, what if we extend this out into a sci-fi thriller concept? It's very, very fun, and it's very, very relevant. And so I
it
love
will
this
almost
movie.
certainly happen. Like this overall, like, it's gonna happen.
You mean
Yeah.
having them in like bots and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is
what
already
we do.
happening
That's
in
what
a
we do.
more low fidelity way.
Yeah.
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 You know?
Like New York Times posting stories about people who are like they have a Chat GPT boyfriend. Like this is this is a thing that's happening today, just without the physical form, and maybe the physical form will happen at some point. But
Didn't CES have a
yeah,
lady bot?
yeah, that's right. That's right.
There's always some variation of a lady bot. Yeah.
But nothing as convincing as what you see in this film. But
That's what I'm saying. Lower fidelity.
Yeah, lower
version.
fidelity. Yeah. In any case, love the movie. It is by default my favorite film of 2025 so far, and had a great time. But there is much more to discuss. So let's get into it. Let's talk about spoilers for Companion starting right now. So I'm just gonna say I loved how. There's so many things to appreciate about this. This is apparently directed by a first-time filmmaker, Drew Hancock, which is
he's directed TV shows, I believe,
Right.
too. But like he's done some good stuff. Yeah, Suburgatory he's written for. Fantastic show.
But anyway, like a confident filmmaking
very
debut,
confident.
right? Like and really well done. The opening scene was awesome. Like I did feel like Jeff might have been a bit annoyed that they gave away the ending of the film at the beginning of the film.
But I beautifully forgot. It's like one of those. I love a movie that it's confident. It's like, you know what? Enough awesome is going to happen here that we can totally call our shot.
Yeah,
and you will still be fooled. It's the magician going. The rabbit is going to come out right over there. And then an hour later, when the rabbit comes right over there, you're like, I didn't know the rabbit was going to come out right over there.
Well,
It's
also,
awesome.
what's great about she essentially reveals at the beginning that she's going to kill him. And what's great about that line is you kind of have a sense of what might happen, as the movie goes on, but you don't understand the meaning of it. Like what it means for her to kill him until the end. And that's wonderful.
Why would it be a happy moment?
Yeah, why would that be great? And that's wonderful. But yeah, they meet in the supermarket and like it doesn't feel right. There's no one else there. Like the colors are different than they are in the rest of the film.
It feels like a rom-com setup. Like I love how those dream sequences. You look like you're watching a romantic comedy.
Right,
the line where he says, "I selected it from a drop-down menu of meet cutes." What a great line.
Yeah. And all the tech stuff in the movie I thought was really smart.
It's pretty solid.
Their jailbreak. Did you jailbreak your sex bot?
And we know what people will know what jailbreak is.
Right.
The audience will know. That's cool.
It's just plausible enough. I think
the only one that I found wildly implausible is it's a rental. I feel like if there's
he's
one
leasing
thing,
it. He's leasing it.
It's a lease. It's a lease.
There's one thing I don't want to ever have pre-used.
You don't want to refurb sex bot?
But then I thought to myself, I mean, it's just people, right?
There you go. Don't shame, Jeff.
It's not like anybody you date isn't gonna.
What's the mileage on this lease sex bot?
Yeah, Jeff. Let's not be a prude here. Okay.
I came to that conclusion. I was like, I would never want. No, actually.
So anyway, I think the one thing that I'm not a fan of is I don't remember what I saw. Was it in The Simpsons or was it in Futurama? But there was like maybe it was something else. Maybe it was like Star Wars. It was like at one point in the history of movies or TV shows, there is a robot that gets hurt and it says, "Why was I programmed to feel pain?"
Yeah.
That
I
was
don't remember.
Simpsons. Yeah.
Was that Simpsons?
Why was I programmed to feel pain?
Yeah, that's a Matt Groening thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a Simpsons thing. And why did they program these robots so that they could understand they're robots? That's my question. Because even with the Lucas Gage robot, he realizes he's a robot. Like it's like.
I think this is a call out to the stuff we're seeing with ChatGPT and the people are like we don't know if it actually knows. Or I think that's the whole Jack Quaid argument is like it's just
programming. Yeah,
you're just saying those words in that order. Just like we see ChatGPT of like I want to live or whatever the people can get it to say.
Right.
And it's like I think
so.
That's
You don't
the
believe
question.
that it is. You don't believe that Lucas Gage is actually self-aware, then, Jeff Canada? Huh?
No, I do believe that, but I think that's the sort of central tension of the movie is that the humans in this are like, you are a garbage disposal, you are a coffee maker, you have no. I mean, I think that's one of the things that this movie is speaking to is that place we are in right now in the world where it's like. there's somebody writing an essay about how I think ChatGPT is actually alive. That kind of thing.
Yeah, but I do think like this is a debate we will have for decades and decades now.
Yeah.
But we program something that is intelligent to the point where they're like 100% intelligence was what, an Ivy League graduate.
Right.
I was actually surprised by that. I feel like if you have like an AI robot, it would probably be even smarter, right? Like that's the whole point.
Well, they want to limit it. They want to limit it.
Well, they want to limit it to 100%. But
Yeah.
I feel like where this movie goes is like, if you're jailbreaking, let's jailbreak that sucker. Like go past 100%. Like that's kind of the idea. But anyway, if we produce something sophisticated enough, that is not just recalling like parroted text to us. Like, when does consciousness hit? That is a question we're all sitting and waiting and watching right now. And I feel like, you have something like this, it could conceivably happen. Sure.
But I do agree that the pain thing, I mean, there's so many wonderful, just sort of throwaway lines in this movie that give you a glimpse at the darker ramifications of this tech. Like it's not ignored. Like the two repair guys where he's like, I don't know, man. Why do people just want to buy these and tie them up in the basement so they can beat them? Like, it's a dark world out there. It's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, that's people would do that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like,
absolutely. Yeah.
I like that the movie doesn't ignore that,
Yeah. I really enjoyed that part of the movie where the two tech guys come and they're like, yep, the whole hard drive, everything is completely preserved right here.
Yeah.
It's
dude, the best line is where he's like, you think that guy did it? He's like, oh yeah, he's fucked.
That guy's
yeah. So the movie is like very relatively low budget. It takes place pretty much all in one location. And I just think there's so many effective moments in the film that are able to evoke this sheer terror. So for instance, after they are trying to leave the house, Lucas Gage there, just standing there, not doing anything. He's just standing there. It's like a very
so good,
creepy moment, and something horrible is about to happen, right? And so like that's wonderful. I love the scene where she changes her language to German.
Incredible.
Like, it's just such a smart thing to do.
We had just seen her increase her own intelligence. And the moment after that, she increases her own intelligence, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait.
It goes like slow motion, and she like blinks, and it's like, oh, amazing.
Incredible. She's like, fuck you, I'm going to be super smart.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things to do, I think, in fiction is to show a character who's brilliant, right? Because it's like, well, then the writer has to be brilliant, right?
That's right.
So the thing that annoyed me in that moment is she's brilliant. And the thing we see immediately after that is she like just walks around and goes, okay, what to do. And I was like, no, show us something brilliant. But then that German moment was like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
This is truly brilliant.
Agreed.
Because she can't tell a lie.
She can't tell a lie. Right.
So good. But she knows it. Just so great. So great.
Excellent. Yeah. Jeff, you said there were a couple things that annoyed you about the movie. I'm curious, like what that's.
Well,
about.
That was the one. That one is one of them. The like, my expectation is that you're going to show me something brilliant right after she gets brilliant.
Well, I would say what she does is she walks through possible scenarios and it shows you them playing out.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of the demonstration of the intelligence. Is like,
yes, I guess that's true.
She can think like three steps ahead
anticipating.
Of what, exactly. Yeah. So that's good. That's part way there. I would say part way.
Yeah,
there. But yeah.
I mean, I guess there's not really that much I don't like. I thought I'm curious if you guys found more. I mean, I think what's fun is that this dude, Jack Quaid's character, doesn't really think this all the way through at a certain point. And you go like, well, you're an idiot. And it's like, oh no, that's the point, is he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And just doesn't think there's going to be any consequences. And he's a decent guy. I'm a good guy. I shouldn't have to deal with things like this.
Yeah.
All of that is great. But
it's a very pointed critique of that kind of guy, right?
Exactly.
Is,
and
right?
I think well done in that sense.
Yeah. It's we're shouting out like just how well cast this movie is too. I feel like everybody hits their parts. I really like Megan Suri. She's from Never Have I Ever. Lucas Gage just can go from being like, oh, this cute dopey guy who's making scallops to menacing. There's lots of fun stuff here. Like they use everybody, I think, to their
What's his name from
extent.
What We Do in the Shadows is great too.
Harvey Guillen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah, he's wonderful as well.
Jabuki's in this, like I think he's one of the tech guys. Yeah.
Overall, great movie. Love
great
the ending.
Surprise. Like, how about that? Like, I didn't expect this movie to be so good. This normally feels
Yeah.
like a early year kind of throwaway thing, and this is I said it last week, but I do think this is going to be a great month for horror thrillers or horror in general. Yeah.
It bums me out that the movie that everybody raved about was Megan. Like, this movie owns Megan.
It
I
blows
mean,
Megan out of the water.
It's
Yes.
very different, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Megan is like more of a full-on crazy romp at times. Like I had more fun with Megan, but this is a tightly written and constructed, horror thriller that makes some good points. Yeah.
The stuff at the beginning where, with me not knowing at all what this movie is about, the stuff at the beginning where she arrives at the house and that conversation she has with the friend where she's like, it's not that I hate you.
Yeah.
It's that you represent that I could be easily replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
She
like,
hates the idea of her. Which
Yeah.
it's like,
is-
you
it's a good
don't
line.
get that.
Yeah.
There's a moment where they show Jack Quaid having sex with her, and then he rolls over, like just ignoring her, and he's like, just go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's like all of that stuff feels so discordant. And then in
Mhm.
retrospect, you go, oh, of course he's treating it like a appliance. And she's
Mhm.
what she said. Oh no, the line that the girl says that was so that stuck out to me, and I'm like, what? She goes, well, look who I'm talking to.
Mhm.
When she's talking about it's like, she's talking about her relationship with Sergey, and he's like, oh, he just treats me like, I
Like a
do what
toy,
he wants when I want, when he wants me to. I have sex when he wants to have sex. I do what he wants. I wear what he wants. Oh, look who I'm talking to.
Mhm.
It's just such a cool moment that you don't contextualize if you don't know what the movie's about, that later you go, oh, of course. She's not going to be opening her heart to the robot she hates.
So how did you, because I kind of knew the concept. I saw the trailer, but it's also like, guys, listen, yes, it is a fun little surprise, but I do think like there's a lot going on here, even without the surprise. I didn't have the, like, I think like it is
those
fun
two things
and
aren't mutually exclusive, but go ahead.
It is fun and interesting. Well, I mean, yes, I'm glad you had the surprise reaction, but I also had the reaction was like, yeah, oh, this is actually really fun how it's constructed, because I know what's coming. This main character doesn't fully know what's coming. I like the hints throughout the movie too, like when they're walking into the house, she's carrying two heavy suitcases, like two very large suitcases. He has like a little bag. It's like a little side bag. We don't comment on it, but it's like, we kind of see she seems strong for somebody who looks very skinny. I don't know. We kind of get those elements to it. It is her slow realization of the world, and Sophie Thatcher just does such a great job of that turn. I guess that turn from being the obedient, robot servant girl to somebody who's fighting for their own survival. So much of this movie rests on her. And I think she like really, really pulls it off. Yeah.
She's so odd. She does something with her mouth that's very like it is almost like she's playing the uncanny valley in a really subtle way.
She walks more stiffly when she's in robot mode. Yeah.
It's quite a performance, and again, I know you're discounting what I'm talking about, but I appreciate
I'm not
it.
Discounting. I'm just saying.
Well, I appreciate it all the more
thing.
because these things stuck out to me when I didn't know to look for them. And I think that is even more striking, where it's like, I'm catching something that's off.
That's good.
In her performance, not knowing to look for something being off. Like, I just expect, I'm thinking this is just a human being, but it's like, what is going on with it? What am I missing here? And then when the movie reveals it, it's like, oh, all of it adds up. The equation balances. It's really cool.
I do think the ending is a little rushed.
Sure.
There is this moment when the two, she frees one of the workers and kills the Lucas Gage robot, and then she's like, "Guess what? I have complete control now." It's like, oh, I guess that was explained really rapidly.
I agree with that. That was one of the other things I would have criticized, is that it just felt a little too convenient that the guy's just like, turn the key and now. Yeah.
He just happens to be part of the robot liberation movement, but we don't even know what that is really. And it just, the only reason to bring it up is because everything else in the movie I found quite methodical. I found like, oh, we're very slowly showing you all these rules and explain, like even down to the self-driving car when she tries to manipulate her voice to activate the car. Super cool.
That's cool. So
just a lot of great like setting up rules and then playing with those rules. I thought was really well done in the movie. And then only for the ending to feel kind of like, oh, we're just taking a quick shortcut right to the end. It felt a little bit out of character, but
I like the points where her intelligence is heightened. She's visualizing like how things will go. Those shouts to like, oh, if I do this, this will go badly. If I do that, it'll go badly. It's a really smart movie in terms of how it's telling you the story and how it's like thinking of everything plot wise. Yeah.
I also love the reveal where when we find out that Sergey isn't a Russian mobster.
Yeah.
It's so funny. He's like, sells dirt.
And his line before was, "This is dirty business." He literally says it's dirty business. Like, yes,
it's actual dirt.
It's actually dirt. Yeah,
indeed.
Rupert Friend, guys. Rupert Friend. Come on, like this movie is full of these little treasures. If the premise is a surprise to you, that's one of them. But there's so many treasures in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love the you see the sort of lead up to him kind of being put the stuff on my back and saying, this is what you're for. This is what you're for, which you think, is just a smarmy guy. But it's like, no, that is what she's for. And he said, I got permission for you to, he said, you can come down here and do this, which also feels in the moment like, oh, yuck. But later it's like, I mean, use my sex bot, I guess. I don't know, make sure you clean it after. But the jarring thing of you see the lotion go on and then we don't see what happens, but we see her walk in covered in blood, which is like, that's way too much blood for what you think should have happened there. And then you cut back to show like all of that stylistic flourish makes me really enamored with this movie.
I do think the pace of reveals is really excellent for the first hour, right? Because even if you know she's a robot, then the reveal of, oh, actually, they planned to use the robot, right? And here's how they did it. And then the robot gets away. And oh, by the way, like they jailbroke the robot. And now Lucas Gage is the killer. You know, like every single development is just kind of like we're changing the rules of the entire situation on every 5 to 10 minutes in a way that keeps the audience guessing, keeps the audience trying to keep up. And I really appreciate that.
Even the moment revealing Lucas Gage as a robot. Kind of surprised me.
Yes.
And then you go back and you recontextualize that dinner conversation where they're talking about how they met. And it's like, we're all just involved in this pantomime. This, like, we all know it's a fucking lie. And we're all just like playing pretend that you guys had this.
This may be a thing we will have to deal with in a society.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Your friend's robot friend may come to dinner. The thing.
So I mean, it's the two robots talking to each other, and all the humans are just like the two robots. Like, how did you meet? Oh, me. Do you know what it's like to know that you love someone? It works on two levels the whole time, and it's so great. So great.
I just thinking about this movie. I think of those little treasures. I love the scene with the two guys, Lucas Gage. She comes out in the back, like they're on the phone to the cops. She walks out in the back all bloody. He's like, "Hey!" It's like, "Oh, I'm on the phone."
Yeah,
great framing,
funny.
Just funny. It's so funny. And this ends in a place too where she has her Terminator moment. Like they don't even shy away. Like it's Terminator arm. It's Terminator arm.
Yeah.
And if you sit for a bit through the credits, she like high fives with, or she like waves to a woman driving by with her Terminator arm.
Well, another bot is my
another bot. I think it's her. Isn't it her?
Oh yeah, is it her?
Oh,
I didn't fully.
wig?
I didn't fully see.
Yeah.
But cool. It actually makes more sense if it is her.
Yeah.
But I want to see more of this world too. Like they have definitely constructed enough where some fun things could be happening in the world of Companion. Yeah.
All right.
I don't think we should ever have the ability to up the aggression. Let's just say that shouldn't be a setting. Even jailbreaking, maybe we shouldn't just have a aggression slider. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of things we're making that, our scientists did not think if they could or if they should, but they certainly could.
It is a danger that if you make these humanoid robots that they could be programmed to kill people probably.
Yeah.
And so
any robot, it'll be robot animals. It'll be whatever, your drone attacking you. Yeah.
I mean, I think certainly a concern, but the more depraved, frightening aspect is what it is the stuff I talked about earlier, where it's like, oh yeah, they use these to just get off and torture it's like the disassociation of something that could potentially look really human and we do inhuman things to it. What that means to our psyches is a real disturbing concept to me.
Absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, It is really impressive that director Drew Hancock made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.